Have you ever wondered how you can make those cinematic anime fight scenes just like this, completely with AI? I built this whole anime fight on one platform, making it look like it was made by a real Japanese anime studio. In this video, I'll walk you through the entire process of making a full anime fight, plus the one trick that keeps both characters looking consistent across every scene. And we start with something most people never do. A very common mistake is opening a tool and generating right away, because every image comes back in a slightly different style, and the second you put them together, nothing matches. So the first thing I'll do instead is find an anime that already looks like something I want to make. For this one, that's the new Kagurabachi teaser trailer I found on YouTube. I'll screenshot 5 good-looking frames from it, but I'm only after the style, so my video looks similar. I'll never touch the characters or the story, because if I started copying what a real studio actually owns, that's exactly how you get your video copyright struck or pulled down. So the look is all I'll take. The cell shading, the lighting, the hard shadow style, the color palette, and then I build my own completely original characters out of it. The frames I'll use are the dramatic close-ups with that deep amber side lighting, the wide shots with the flat cell-shaded backgrounds, and the ones with hard flat shadow blocking. Also, I'll skip anything with heavy motion blur, because the cleaner the frame, the more clearly the model picks up that style, and the cleaner the result I get later. And out of all of them, my favorite is the one with a guy standing on a table after beating up one of the villains. Those 5 frames become the style reference I'll use when writing every character and location prompt later on, so that whole look comes out the same every single time. Everything I use here, every prompt and every setting, is in a file linked in the description, so you can paste the same things in and follow along as we go. So with 5 screenshots, we've already chosen the style of the whole video before generating anything. But the style alone isn't enough, because we still need someone to actually start the fight and make the whole video look alive. So before generating anything, I'll set up the entire story, and I do it without writing a word of it myself. This part decides whether we can hold the viewer's attention later in production. So I'll open Claude, paste in one prompt with my idea, and ask it for the whole thing at once. The world and the stakes, both character profiles matching their look, every single line of dialogue, and a full scene breakdown with timestamps and camera direction. My idea here is a survival game on a cruise ship, 100 players fighting down to the last 2, and a final round that comes down to bare hands. And I like how it clearly lays out each section of the video, comes up with the scenery and how the characters look, and writes these natural dialogue lines. My main character is Roger, who's brave and fights more on heart than skill. He's got a strong reason to win too. His younger sister is waiting for him back home, but to get there, he has to beat his opponent Kane, who's older, silent, and honestly looks far stronger than Roger from the start. All these little details matter if you want an anime fight that actually feels epic, emotional, and high stakes. The profile gives me Roger's messy dark hair, his gray top, and the bandage on his knuckles, plus Kane's loose olive shirt and bare feet. That whole description is what I'll build each character from in the next step, so I don't have to describe them from scratch every time. And the time-stamped breakdown is basically my generation list. It tells me exactly which videos I need and in what order, which saves me from guessing what to make next. So the whole film's structure is already there, done in just a few minutes. But every character in that breakdown is still just a name and a description, with no actual face yet. So now I'll bring each of these characters to life, and keeping them looking identical in every scene is the whole challenge. Everything I'll generate from here, every character, every location, and every video is built inside Higgsfield. And I'll leave a link to Higgsfield down in the description below if you want to follow along. I'll head to the main page, then in the top left menu I'll click Image. Under the prompt box I'll choose GPT Image 2 as the model, since it's the one that generates sharp 4K images and clean text without making me retry over and over, wasting credits. There are also settings for quality, resolution, and aspect ratio. I'll just bump the resolution up to 4K, since it defaults to a lower setting. Then, for every single thing I'll make, I'll upload those 5 style frames right next to the prompt, so each one comes out in the same anime look from the start. And for the characters, I'll ask for a 3-panel sheet, a full body front, a full body back, and a face close-up, all on a plain dark background with slight, even lighting. That matters because the sheet becomes the reference the tool reuses later, so giving it the full look of the character from every angle means the model works from what it can actually see, instead of guessing the parts that were out of frame. So I'll start with Roger, and I paste in his description from the story, plus the line that tells it not to copy any character from the references, and make him fully original, so the model doesn't end up copying anyone. And he looks like he came straight out of a real anime running on Japanese TV right now. I especially like how the model followed the prompt on the messy hair. It came out exactly how I wanted. The second that sheet is done, I'll save it and tag it as Roger, because that lets me drop him into any scene later without describing how he looks every single time. I'll set up Kane in the same way by using his own sheet off the same style frames saved as Kane. For this one, his hair and beard look a little off, almost cartoonish, and with all the marks on his face, he looks more AI made than Roger did, but it's nothing major. Then the little sister, Gina, who only ever shows up once, far in the distance, so you can't really see her face, but she still gets a full sheet so she keeps the same look. And this one came out much better than the last. Her hair is one plain color with a simple texture, so she looks less AI generated, even with fewer details on her face. With the cast done, I'll move on to the actual places the action will happen. I'll start with the arena. So now you can clearly see that huge circular all-white room with the 5-story ceiling and a black screen on the far wall. Honestly, this one looks like a training simulation room pulled straight out of some heavy combat anime. Then the cruise ship for the cold and mysterious intro that is alone in the middle of the ocean under a heavy gray sky. And this one does its job perfectly. I can feel the scale and a bit of unease right from the first scene, so it'll leave the viewer a little confused but curious enough to keep watching. After that, I'll run the same prompt 5 times for the 5 wrecked game rooms, each one destroyed in its own way, so the cold open has somewhere to move through. I'll start with the big industrial room. It looks like something incredibly powerful went through that room and caused a massacre, with the huge holes in the walls and all the destruction across the whole shot. Next is the dark corridor in a red theme. The red light makes me feel even more uneasy than the blood on the walls. It looks like it was pulled straight out of a horror movie. Then, the room lit by a single hanging lamp. On top of the lack of light, the chains hanging from the ceiling make it look even creepier. After that, the flooded one. I immediately liked the abandoned, dark feel of it, and the dark red dispersed through the water sets the mood. And the last one is the scorched circular room. This one looks like something caught fire or exploded in the middle, which gives it a real battlefield look, but it's not as creepy as the last one. Now, the one that has to feel completely different is the wheat field for the flashback, warm and golden with a windmill way out on the horizon. In comparison to the previous ones, this one looks much calmer and gives a peaceful vibe because of the warm colors and almost no objects around. And the screens take one extra move. I'll use the arena image as the reference. Zoom into its blank TV to save that on its own, then feed that screen back in to put the final round and congratulations text onto it, so the screen always matches the room it is sitting in. So now the entire cast and every place the film happens in is generated, tagged, and locked in one matching style. But there is one shot this whole setup still cannot handle on its own, the moment I'll need both fighters standing in the same wide frame. And the reason that one shot breaks comes down to something these video tools just can't do. When you generate a video, the tool has no memory of any other one. It doesn't know what was in the last one, or where anything was standing. So if I'll just ask for a wide shot of the arena with both fighters in it, or have Kane walk into the room, it has no idea Roger is already standing on the left, and it either gives me an empty room, or puts the two of them in random places. So before I move on to the video, I'll fix this with a single image using the arena photo as the reference. And as you can see, it places both characters straight into the scene. Roger on the far left, Kane on the far right, both small against that huge white room and facing each other. The whole thing looks like they're just seconds away from starting a fight. That one image becomes the anchor for every wide shot in the fight, because now I can give it to the video tool and it knows precisely where each fighter stands and how big they are in the frame. Then I'll make 2 more versions of that positioned shot. One shows us a glowing final round sign behind them, and one with congratulations. And everything looks pretty decent, so I don't have anything to point out. I'll need both because the fight plays out under the final round screen and the ending lands under congratulations. So I want the positioned room ready in each state before I'll animate anything. One small catch on that congratulations version, it still shows both fighters standing, but by the ending, Kane is knocked out on the floor. So when I'll get there, I'll only use this shot for the room lighting and the congratulations screen, and Kane's floored position comes from the comeback video instead. And that one image is the trick I promised at the start, so we can keep both fighters locked into the same spots in the same room across every single shot. But right now, everything is still static, so it's time to start animating. I'll begin with the cold, mysterious intro that comes before the fight, since it sets the atmosphere for everything that follows. To do that, I'll stay in Higgsfield, but this time I'll switch over to the video section in the top bar and select Seedance 2.0. As you can see, Seedance is already selected with a 15-second duration and 1080p resolution, so I leave all of it as it is and keep full manual control over every shot. The prompt box tells me to use tags to reference assets, which is exactly where the tags I created earlier come in, letting me put any location or character straight in there by name. All of these cold open shots use the same camera move, a slow 2.5D parallax push-in, where the foreground moves slightly faster than the background, held at a 24 frames per second feel so it moves like real anime rather than that smooth, artificial look. I'll start with a slow push-in of the cruise ship. It sits completely alone in the middle of the ocean, under a heavy gray sky. The front angle looks good overall, but I'll also try the camera more from the side. This version looks good too, and since I want both of them running together as one intro sequence, I'll combine them later. Then I move inside to a wrecked industrial room. There are overturned crates and broken lights flickering overhead. The cold atmosphere holds up well. Next is a tight corridor lined with shattered glass. It's lit only by a harsh emergency sign. Those occasional sound hits in the background add so much tension to the scene that they make me feel even more uneasy than the still image did. After that, a big open room. It has heavy iron chains hanging from the ceiling and a single spotlight pointing straight down into the darkness. And it's the deep, distant noise that makes it scarier than the chains themselves. The flooded room was the hardest one to animate. The ankle-deep water kept getting rendered frozen still, so I had to state in the prompt that it should move constantly from the first frame to the last before it finally stayed in motion. And the last one is a burned-out room. It's all scorched walls and ash, with the charring spreading out from the center. So the whole opening world is now built. But an empty ship and 5 empty rooms are still just a backdrop, and the 2 fighters haven't even stepped into frame yet. So now I'll bring them into the room, starting with the standoff that sets the whole fight up. Here's the prompt for the first scene. Like before, I include the overall style, but this time I also specify the character and timestamps to mark the cuts. I've also included the camera shot, so Seedance can follow the direction more accurately. Now I'll generate it, and let's take a look at the result.
All white, huh? So what's the final game?
Overall, I'm happy with the entrance. The faces stay consistent and the movement looks solid. The next scene is where Kane enters from the other side, and this is where all the arena positioning from earlier really pays off. His entrance is mostly tight shots of him. Then the camera turns wide to show both fighters, and on its own, the model has no idea Roger is already standing on the left. So I'll feed that positioned arena in as the reference, and now it knows exactly where each of them stands. This looks great. You can really feel the tension as Kane walks into the room, and I especially like the fade-in transition that reveals both characters staring each other down. Then the announcement. From this point on, there's one line I'll include in every prompt: strictly no music. Seedance adds cinematic music by default, and it instantly makes fight scenes feel cheap. Leaving it out of the prompt isn't enough, you have to tell it explicitly. With that in place, I'll generate the video, and let's see how it turns out.
Congratulations on making it to the final round. The final round is the simplest of all. Combat, bare hands.
Bare hands? Well, this is going to be interesting.
Overall, it looks pretty good. I really like the ending with the split screen, but the opening feels a bit off, so I'll regenerate it and see what comes back.
Congratulations on making it to the final round. The final round is the simplest of all. Combat. Bare hands.
Bare hands. Well, this is going to be interesting.
This time, the opening looks much better, but the ending isn't as strong as the first version, so I'll take the opening from the second generation and stitch it onto the ending from the first. Now, the actual fight and the first clash is fast and aggressive, both of them dashing in on the buzzer, and we can clearly see the weight of the punches in each exchange. Two rules matter for the whole fight. On the hardest hits only, you get a quick little splash of red that's gone in under a second, and it never leaves a mark on them. And the camera stays on medium and full body shots, never super wide, and never an extreme close-up, so you always read the movement. What I don't like is that when Roger hits Kane, you can see Kane showing almost no emotion on his face, but the movement itself still looks good. The clash ends with Roger crouched on the floor, barely holding himself up. So for the knockdown, I'll use the chaining trick, dropping that video back in as reference 1, so the next shot continues from its exact last frame, and Roger tries to fight back before Kane finishes him with one straight punch. As you can see, the fight picks up exactly where the previous shot left off. There is one small continuity issue though. When he first falls, he lands on his back, but in the next shot, he's suddenly lying on his chest. It looks a little strange, but that's easy to fix later in the editing process. The scene ends with Roger flat on the white floor, out cold. But his losing is not the point. What happens in his head next is the whole reason this fight gets even more serious. So instead of cutting straight to him getting back up, I'll show a memory of him and his sister. And this is where the whole tone of the anime changes. The flashback is the entire reason the ending works. Because without it, this is just two people hitting each other for no reason. So I'll switch the aspect ratio to a wider 21:9. It will give the scene a more cinematic feel and signal that we've left the fight and entered a memory.
Wait, this place is...
The opening shot feels very dramatic, starting with a close-up of Roger's eyes. I especially like the one-take camera move as it pulls back into a wider shot and moves through the space. Then comes the moment that actually turns him. His little sister, Gina, tiny in the distance by the windmill, calls out that she is waiting for him, and his face shifts from beaten to pure resolve with tears running down.
I will be waiting right here, near the windmill.
This time, everything worked as it should. When the tears start coming out, Roger's facial expression changes naturally, making the whole scene more emotional. Now I'll bring the knockout video back in as a reference again, so this one picks up from him face down on the floor, back in the normal 16:9. His eyes open rapidly, he comes back fast to the fight, and they keep going for a few seconds. Then right as Roger lands the final uppercut, the whole video drops into slow motion for a second, the audio slows down and goes deep, and the frame bleaches to pure white, then Kane drops. And this one looks probably the best out of all the shots. The movement of both characters is really smooth, the facial expressions are natural, and I can feel the tension in the air. And finally, for the last video, the screen will change from final round to congratulations. Roger will then walk over to Kane, crouch beside him, deliver his final line, and the screen will slowly fade to black.
I am sorry, but there's someone who is waiting for me.
This feels like the perfect ending for the whole video. The atmosphere has calmed down, and Roger delivers his final lines to wrap everything up. So now the whole story is complete, from both fighters making their entrance all the way to Roger delivering his final line. But at this point, they're still just separate video clips. Now it's time to bring them together into a finished film. The first thing I'll add is a voiceover for the intro. Back on Higgsfield's homepage, I'll head over to the audio tab and select 11v3. That's 11 Labs model, and it's the best AI voice model available right now. I'll simply write the directions directly into the script, and the model will follow them. So I'll click the voice preset panel and pick Julian. Then I'll paste the script in exactly as written, with the emotion tags left in, because V3 reads those bracketed tags as delivery directions. So a tag like whispering, thoughtful, solemn, or exhales sharply tells it precisely how to say that line, instead of one flat, robotic read all the way through. I'll generate it twice and keep the stronger take.
For 120 days, 100 strangers fought in rooms built for only one purpose: to break them.
That deep voice sets the whole intro up really well and makes it feel more mysterious, and there are no odd pauses while he's speaking, so I'm happy with it. And now the opening finally has its voice. The last step is bringing everything together on a single timeline and turning it into a finished film. For the final edit, I'll use CapCut. It's completely free, so I'll just open it in the browser, sign up with a Google account or an email, and click Edit Video to open the editor. I'll upload every video and voiceover we've generated, drag it into the timeline, and trim each one down. For the 5 room shots, I'll keep them for 3 seconds each and match it to the voiceover. For the static shots, I'll add a slow push and zoom so they don't feel flat and lifeless. Then I'll lay clean, minimal title text over the cold open, time to the voice, hard cuts through the fight, and a soft dissolve into the flashback so the cuts match the energy of each part. Now to make the intro feel more cinematic, I'll add black bars so it matches the 21:9 aspect ratio of the flashback scenes instead of its original 16:9. And finally, the audio. This is what really brings the whole film together. The cold open gets a dark orchestral build, the flashback gets soft piano, and the voiceover gets a touch of reverb so it sits naturally within the world instead of on top of it. Then I'll export the whole thing at 1080p.
Somewhere in the middle of nowhere, no land, no signal, no rescue, a ship, and a game. For 120 days, 100 strangers fought in rooms built for only one purpose: to break them. It started with 100 players, but only 2 remain.
All white, huh? So what's the final game?
Congratulations on making it to the final round. The final round is the simplest of all. Combat. Bare hands.
Bare hands. Well, this is going to be interesting.
Wait, this place is...
I will be waiting right here, near the windmill.
I am sorry, but there's someone who is waiting for me.
And the final result looks genuinely impressive. Most people wouldn't be able to tell it was AI generated. It feels like a real anime fight scene produced by a professional studio. The 2 angles on the ship were the right call. They make the whole intro feel more alive and dynamic. And the screen activation and Kane's one-liner come together cleanly once I stitch those 2 takes, keeping the opening of one and the ending of the other. And normally, this whole process would take me days or even weeks, because using all those different tools would be much harder if I had to switch between platforms and hunt down the best models myself. So sign up to Higgsfield with my link in the description to have everything in one place and build your own anime fight from your own idea today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.